Hello, my friends. As usual, I am Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and I'm very happy. I'm delighted to be with you, like in so many occasions, like so many times, in talking about everything that we can do for ourselves. And today, I just got like a ray of inspiration. I thought, this is to tell my friends, this is to talk about it. And I thought this is a good subject for Truth Be Told radio network, because I know you people love to hear the message of health and proactiveness and being well and healthy and so on. So I am very, very fond of the aircraft industry. So I read a lot. I'm not a pilot, I will never be, never intended to. It just marvels me every time I'm on a plane to think that I'm at 30,000, 40,000 feet above the ground in a very quiet, air-conditioned environment, having a cup of coffee and going at 800 miles an hour to wherever I'm trying to go. And that in no time, in a blink of an eye, I left San Diego and I'm in Charlotte, or in New York, or across the ocean. I'm in Tokyo, I'm in Paris. It always has amazed me, the achievement of aviation. So I read a lot of things, and every time I read about it, it's like people that are fond of cars. They read about what are the new models, what are the cars that are coming up, and I read about aircraft and what has been produced, and of course big admirer of the 747 and this and the other. But there's always a time where things start to change, so they start changing the planes, getting some other planes, and then you see how they take care of them. And this brought me back to one of the concepts of Dr. Romero, a very close friend and also an associate, one of our senior physicians at BioCare Hospital, when she says, living is aging. And I thought, I think it happens the same thing to aircraft or to cars. Let me set a simple example that everyone can understand very easy. The minute you produce a car, it's going to start aging. It's going to start needing care and maintenance. The best car you can buy, it'll age, it'll need care. Those two concepts are part of being created, part of being alive. We age and we need care. You follow me? Let's say, for example, I give you a brand new Rolls Royce, and you say, oh, I want to keep it forever. And then you leave it in the showroom. You don't even want to drive it out of the showroom. You want it to be pristine for years and years to come. Are you saving the care and maintenance of that car? No. And those that know about mechanics know you cannot do that. No, you might not use the car at all. Still, you will have to be checking levels and oil quality and pressure in the tires and move it a little bit, otherwise the tires are going to be damaged. You're going to be having to take care of that vehicle. If not, it's going to give you problems even though you never drove the car, even though it never left the showroom. It's going to start giving you problems unless you start taking care of it. You see? And same thing with aircraft. I mean, you have an aircraft, and just imagine the stress, the efforts, the everything an aircraft is subjected to. It is going to be from ground to 40,000 feet, across huge temperature changes. Then it's going to land with all of its weight in 6-10 tires only, and you have tons of aircraft dropping on those things. I mean, they need a lot of care and a lot of maintenance. And we call our hospital BioCare. We call it BioCare Hospital. So I thought, why don't we start by telling people what we exactly mean? What do we mean? Because many times we use the words and we never reflect. We never stop to think what they mean. So I thought, what's the easiest thing to do? Well, let's go to the dictionary. Let's go to the Oxford Dictionary and read about BioCare. And I started by looking at the word care. What does care mean? Well, I saw that care is, and I quote, the provision of what's necessary for health, welfare, maintenance, and protection of someone or something. Unquote. Now, if I read the Oxford Dictionary description of what care means, the first point they mention is health. They say provision of what's necessary for health. And then they go to welfare, maintenance, and protection of something or someone. So it implies a number of things. And the same dictionary goes on to say it implies safekeeping, supervision, custody, charge, protection. And when you read all these things, and when you think of them, which they are absolutely true, all of them imply proactiveness. All of them imply that we have to move to do them. Because safekeeping and supervision and custody and charge and protection cannot be done if I'm sitting on a chair. It means surveillance. It means taking actions. It means doing things for someone or for something. That's what the word care means. That's what it implies. In any case, and this is the important message, in any case, care means being proactive, pursuing something. It is not a passive activity. You can be taken care of, which is the opposite and completely different. Yes, I can just lay down, be unconscious, be in coma, and still being taken care of. But how many times we have told someone, you cannot take care of your mother. You cannot take care of your children. You cannot take care of this or the other. Because physically, mentally, health-wise, legally, you name it, you cannot be in that position because it means an effort. It means awareness. It means an activity. You see? So it's very important that we think of that. Because unless we are willing to get out of a chair and move and do something, we will never be able to take care of ourselves, and we will never be able to take care of anything, much less of other people. So you say, okay, I'm beginning to understand it. It means taking care means moving. And again, proactiveness means I have to get moving, I have to make a plan, I have to do something to make sure that whatever I'm taking care of, or whoever I'm taking care of, I'm checking them out. I'm looking at them. I'm aware of anything that can go wrong with them. Same as I was telling you. Your Rolls Royce in the showroom still needs the pressure in the tires be checked. Otherwise, you're going to get a flat. It needs to surveillance of the oil quality. If not, you're going to have a problem. You have to make sure it doesn't have any leaks. You have to make sure nothing happens to it. So, the most important part of this message is that you have to sit down with your family, sit down with your friends, sit down and look around at your workplace, at your church, and say, if we care for something, if we care for someone, we have to start working, moving, investing in that person's welfare and well-being, or in the proper function of whatever, if it is a thing, we're taking care of. So, that said, you probably start to getting a good idea of what BioCare means. BioCare is everything I have said. Every time you're looking at the care of a living organism. Why? Because we're alive. But it applies to our plants, it applies to our pets, it applies to our environment. We have a whole world of live things around us. Thank God we have them. If everything around us is dead, we're going to be dead too. So by taking BioCare of everything living around us, we're going to be able to have a very long, successful life. So get those ideas a little bit in place, and I'm going to get back with you because I want to keep talking to you. My friends, I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and I'm coming to you like every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and every Saturday morning at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time through the courtesy of Truth Be Told Radio Network. You can listen to this and many, many more programs if you search for Truth Be Told Radio Network on Spotify. And you will be able to enjoy many of these commentaries, many of these broadcasts, and share them to other people. Hopefully you're going to share them because the idea is that we all get more involved in being healthier, living longer, but in good shape. That's what we all want. You can also contact me through the social media of your choice. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. We all are always putting messages, we're always putting information, we're always trying to make you more resourceful to change your life and to be able to care, to BioCare your life. So please follow me. I would love to have you counted as one of my followers, because this shows me that we are a growing community, because that's exactly what I would love to do. I'd like to have a bigger community of people that BioCare, that take care of themselves, that look forward to see how we're going to handle our health. And today we're talking exactly about the meaning of those words. We have mentioned about, for example, the word care. Because many times you say, oh yeah, I care for you. Do you really? I mean, I care for you doesn't mean that it matters to me what happens to you in a very passive way. No, because when we read the Oxford Dictionary, we find out that caring means the provision of what's necessary for health, welfare, maintenance, and protection of someone or something. It implies safekeeping, supervision, custody, charge, protection. So every single word that I have mentioned means proactiveness. So I cannot say, yes, I care for you. Those are empty words. I care for you means I'm aware of you. I'm watching you. I'm looking around you. I'm going to try to get things away that could hurt you. I'm going to do something that's going to help you, that's going to preserve you. Because part of caring is protecting. It implies a lot of things. It implies health. And that caught my attention. Because when I read the Oxford Dictionary definition, it begins saying provisions of doing what's necessary for health. So health goes in the first place. I cannot care for you if I'm giving you a cigarette. I cannot care for you if I'm giving alcohol. I cannot care for you if you're feeding a lot of sugar. I care for you, though, if I show you better ways. If I take you to a farmer's market and help you to understand what is a healthier diet. I care for you if I watch you walk safely, that you are safe at home, that you have protection, that etc. But I don't care for you if I do things that are knowingly harmful against that person. That has to have a different word that I don't have right now, but it has to have a different word. Now, we're saying that BioCare is caring for living organisms, because the Oxford Dictionary tells me that care is everything that we have said for something or for someone. Well, let's get out of this something and let's talk about someone. We're beginning to talk about BioCare. But since the word bio, B-I-O, means life, it's a Greek word, it's a Greek root that we use constantly. We say biology, we say biologics, see? We say biometrics. So the word bio means life. Biometrics is your weight, your size, your waistline, any number associated with you, your hemoglobin, all that is part of biometrics. So if I'm going to be taking care of someone who's a biological entity, which is alive, I'm biocaring. Same way, I biocare my houseplants, I biocare my pets, I biocare my environment, I biocare my forest. You see? So there are many important concepts that we have to start to understand. Now, once again, care means proactiveness. It will never happen if we don't get our hands to it. That's why it's important to share this information. That's why it's important that you go to Spotify and you search for Truth Be Told Radio Network and sit with friends or family or tell them to listen to some of these messages, because hopefully that's going to give them some ideas. So many times we know what we want to do, we just don't understand exactly how. So it's good that we start doing this. Now, let's talk about something that is also very important. Okay? I'm going to be taking care of you. I'm going to make sure that, okay, you have an ulcer, I'm going to try to cure it. You have a problem here, I'm going to help you with it. You have a broken bone and take you to the hospital. That is care. All that is care, but all that implies moving, doing something for someone. Not just looking at it. I mean, if someone tells you somebody broke her hip and you say, oh, okay, I'm sorry, you're not being caring. You cannot say, I care for her. You can say, well, it upsets me, it bothers me, I feel sorry for her. But you're not caring because you're doing nothing about it. So doing something for someone, doing something about what happens to anyone, that is care. The rest is words, empty words. So before you tell somebody, I care for you, think exactly what you mean. Or think exactly what you're doing for that person. So once we have that, then we go to the next step. And I go once to my example of talking about the cars or talking about an aircraft. This concept actually learned it from reading about aircraft. Well, not only caring is important, but it is also very important to care ahead of time. You see, you might call it prevention. In the industrial world, it is called predictive care. And I like the concept. Why don't we have predictive BioCare? Why? Because prediction is also something that I thought, well, if I look for the word care, I'm going to look for prediction, for what is the verb predict has as a meaning. And then I found it again in the Oxford Dictionary, and I'm going to quote again. It says, predict is to say or estimate that a specific thing will happen in the future or will be a consequence of something. It is to forecast, it is to foretell, it is to foresee, it is to prognosticate. In other words, is to say, is like a prophecy. You're going to have this, or this is going to happen to you health-wise. And it doesn't take too much. I mean, you don't have to be a scientist, you don't have to have a crystal ball or anything like that to foretell health issues. You see somebody, you say, he's gaining so much weight. He's going to become a diabetic. He's having these sort of foods, he can have a heart attack. Oh my God, look at this person, how he lives. He could have a stroke any time. He's a chain smoker. Oh my God, he might develop a lung cancer. You see? Yes, we can predict. We can foretell. We can prognose. And prognosis is an important word because there is a word that in medicine we use every day, which is prognosis. And prognosis means to know ahead of time. Okay? So when you say prognosis, you're speaking Greek, you're saying, I know ahead of time this is going to happen. That's why when you see a patient, they tell you, what's the prognosis? In other words, what's going to happen? And you say, the prognosis is bad. This person might have real big problems. Or it's very good, nothing will happen. In other words, if we start doing predictive biocaring, means that we're going to start analyzing that person we care for, that person we take care of, that person we watch, we surveil, we do anything to protect and to keep, but we're doing it also thinking of the future. And it's as simple as if I'm spending a lot of money and I don't make that much money, I'm going to be broke. Same with health. And I really love talking to you, and I really love listening to these broadcasts, and I really love your questions, and I love you to share all this information. So keep with me for the next segment. My good friends, I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez with Truth Be Told Radio Network, broadcasting every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and repeating the same program every Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also search for Truth Be Told Radio Network on Spotify and listen to not only this, but to over 100 broadcasts of this type. And you can choose different segments, you can choose what you want to listen, and then you can choose what you want your neighbor, your friend, your church member, your family to listen to, and then spread the word. Because I think it's an important message. I do it very happily because I know many people will love these messages. They get a little bit of know-how to deal with their lives, with their health, and with their future, because our health means our future. No health, no future. So I want you to be with me, and also to ask questions, also to have any comment you might have, share it with me through the social media of your choice. Also, you will find a lot of little segments that will hopefully give you some good ideas of how to implement a better, healthier life. So go to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, search for us, BioCare Hospital, Dr. Rodriguez, and I'm going to be there. And if you ask a question, I promise you I'm going to answer personally all those questions. And today we're talking about the BioCare concept, because that's the name of the hospital. We call the hospital International BioCare and Hospital and Wellness Center. So you say, okay, you talk about BioCare, you say what you do, and what we do is BioCare. You know, we have spent some time in discussing what caring is, on one hand, what is BioCare, and also a new concept that we have actually been doing for many years, but we're putting it a name, we're putting more better context, which is the predictive BioCare program, which is trying to take care of you before anything happens. And you say, but okay, you're going to take care of me before anything happens. How you do that? How you know what's going to happen? I'm going to give you a good idea, and insurance companies are good for that. They're good at predicting, and they actually build their businesses on predictions. So let's say you live in Mexico City. Well, in Mexico City, an earthquake insurance can be expensive, because insurance companies know that the possibilities of important earthquake are very high. After all, you live in an area that has a number of faults and a big volcano in the neighborhood, living with everybody else. So that, let's say you live in New Orleans. I'm sure that flood insurance has become a lot more expensive, because now we know what the Mississippi River with a good hurricane can do, working together. So there are things that happen in life in your world that if you look around, you can say, yeah, I could have an earthquake, I could have a flooding. You see? And that's going to give you an idea of what predictive care you need to have. I've seen in Florida, for example, storm shutters, hurricane shutters. You don't use them in California. What for? You see, so we predict what can happen because of the previous experiences and because of the information that we have. Now, how am I going to know what can happen to people? Well, the first indicator, of course, is genetics. Remember that every time you go to the doctor, provided you go to a good doctor and does a good medical history, he's going to ask you if your father and mother are alive. He's going to ask you if they are dead, how old were they when they died. They're going to ask you if they're alive, how old they are now, and if they have high blood pressure, diabetes, any problem. That's going to tell me something about genetics. Your mother is obese diabetic, your father is obese diabetic, you're going to be diabetic. Your chances are very high. 80%, 90%. I have to start working today to defeat those odds. So that is predictive care. That is predictive BioCare. And that we do that at the hospital every single day. Perinatal conditions. What were the circumstances at birth? At your birth? Are you a product of a healthy pregnancy? Or was your mother always sick? Did your mother have any issues at delivery? Did you have to be delivered by a C-section versus a vaginal delivery, a normal delivery? Were you breastfed? All those things are very important because we have seen over the years, and you can read very easy, that people that had vaginal delivery with breastfeeding are stronger immunologically than people that have the opposite, a different circumstance. So we have to know that. Then what about your upbringing? Okay, now you're born, you're breast or not breastfed, you're growing up, your mother was always working and just fed you processed foods? Or you were in a caring environment where they produce fresh vegetables and liver and all these good things and fed you and produce all the foods that you needed and watch you grow and be stronger and made sure you had your fruits, your vegetables. They show you to eat well. They didn't take you to be filled at the junk food station just to be full of potatoes and fried food. So that is also very important, your upbringing. And then the health challenges you went through. Were you asthmatic? Were you allergic? Did you have any chronic diseases? Were you given constant antibiotics for whatever reason, respiratory infections, acne, you name it, or steroids? Because in many cases, children are given steroids for different things. I want to know because they can affect the outcome of the immune system. So I want to make sure what is your health condition, you see. And when I know all that, then I can start making a plan. And that's what we do at the hospital. And then we take blood tests and everything, and it gets together, and I can tell this is your weakness, this is what we have to fight for. And then another very important part, epigenetics, lifestyle. We have said that, okay, yes, your mother was diabetic, your father had high blood pressure, your chances of having these problems are very high. Why? Because the genes carry that disease. Now, there's something very important to know. Genes are not imprinted in granite. Genes produce a number of instructions to your body to do something. But they can be silenced or they can be very active. And you have genes that tell your body to be diabetic, tell your body to create a tumor, they tell your body to do a number of problems. But they don't have to act necessarily, because there are also parts of the biology that will silence those genes. And yes, you might have diabetic genes that will never be able to express themselves because they have been silenced. That is called epigenetics. Epigenetics is the capacity to modify gene expression, okay, and bypass, avoid the gene instruction itself. So, you know, people that have all this background and doesn't look very optimistic. I have friends whose father and mother are diabetic. I have friends whose father and mother and sister and brother are diabetic. And they're not. You see? I have a long-time friend whose father and mother and brother and the other brother and one sister died of a heart attack before the age of 60. He's 78. But we have taken those people and say, look, you have all these problems, this is what we can do. But first of all, we have to make a good diagnosis. You do not necessarily make a diagnosis to say you have this disease. That's one of the problems of today's medicine. You're not sick, you don't have an obvious disease, you don't have a coded diagnosis. Don't come to see me. Wait till you're sick. Don't talk to me. You're wasting my time. You're afraid that you might get this. You're afraid you might get breast cancer because your mother had it. You're afraid because you might have prostate cancer because your father had it. You're afraid. Call me when you actually have the disease. That's the concept of today's medicine. And no, you don't have to take that as an answer. You have, once again, to be proactive, sit at the helm and say, look, I don't have to be a doctor to know I was born by C-section. I don't have to be a doctor to know that I had a lot of health issues when I was young. I don't have to be a doctor to know that I had respiratory infections, gastrointestinal infections, nourishment problems as I was growing up, terrible acne, terribly anything. So I know I have health issues that I have to, first of all, diagnosticate, and second, be proactive and change that for the better. And that's what we do at BioCare Hospital. So I want you to stay with me because I'm going to tell you what we do, how we do it, and how effective it can be. My dear friends, I have had a great time today in trying to dissect, trying to show what BioCare means and how simple it is for you to make a good assessment, a good diagnosis of the whole situation, and how you can start changing your life for better. We are going through Truth Be Told Radio Network, and I really appreciate your being with me. You're following these programs every week, every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I also want to offer you all my social media, in Instagram and Facebook, to contact me, to tell me your comments, your questions, and hopefully be able to guide you and help you to educate yourself in all of this. Because as you have seen, it takes proactiveness. Good health is not just going to drop. Good care means moving, doing something, changing things, changing plans, planning. All that implies a very proactive lifestyle. You have to get Saturday morning and say, let's go to the farmer's market. You have to go to a party and say, no, I don't drink this. Not be shy to say, I'd rather have an orange juice than a cocktail. I don't eat that much salt. I don't smoke, thank you. You see? And to tell you the truth, there was a time, I'm 50 years as a doctor only. It's been more than 50 years since I graduated in medicine. And there was a time where if you said, I don't eat meat or I don't do this, you were really looked over. It doesn't happen anymore. And you're going to be healthier and controlling your life. Now, we've said that we have to be very proactive to really do good biocaring. And that's what we offer you at BioCare Hospital and Wellness Center. Taking a BioCare getaway. It really works. It really helps. It can really change your life. And one of the things that makes me very proud, very happy, is to see that more and more people jump at the chance of doing that. They say, okay, yes, it's simple, at the same time it's complicated, because I cannot go to my doctor and say, out of the blue, doctor, I want you to check my vitamin D. Or I cannot go to a doctor and say, I have nothing, but I want you to make sure that this and that. Sometimes it takes a lot of effort just to get an appointment. So the doctor will probably tell you, come back and tell me when you're really sick. Because doctors have been trained to deal with disease, not with health, much less prevention. So what you have to do is you have to take control. And you have to say, in my next vacation period, I'm going to take 10 days for a BioCare getaway. What are you going to do? You're going to come to a place where you're going to live for 10 days, 2 weeks, depending, and you're going to be checked. You're going to have a huge, long conversation with somebody that cares and understands health issues. And you will talk about your parents and the health of your family and your surrounding environment, your stress level at work, your sleeping habits, your whole life, to see where we can intervene. And we can start working immediately with a very specific blood work. Many of the blood work you're going to see it's very common, but many of the tests are going to be geared to find out what is your inflammation level, what is your inflammation degree, because inflammation is the culprit of 7 out of 10 deaths in today's environment. So, no, I don't want to die of a chronic inflammatory disease. I don't want to get cancer. I don't want to have diabetes. I don't have to have arthritis. God forbid, for Alzheimer's. All those diseases are chronic inflammatory diseases at its base. So I want to go to a place where they tell me this is your inflammatory index. But guess what? You're in the perfect place. Because we're going to work in your intestinal flora, we're going to work on your eating habits, we're going to take care of you. And you don't have to do anything. That's the most important. That's why it works. Truly, 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 I really No, it works because you don't have to do anything. Because as simple as it sounds, it's hard to implement at home. It's hard for you not to be lured into, okay, you're trying to follow this regime, but now they invite you to this wedding. No, you take a look at your calendar and you say, I'm going to take these 10 days off, same as if you went on a cruise, and I'm going to dedicate that time to my evaluation, to my full diagnosis, to my full blood work, to my whole awareness and surveillance to know what are my weaknesses and what are my strengths, what I have to work on, what I have to even bring further up. If you start doing that, I don't have one single case of anyone that told me, okay, doctor, bye, it was okay, but I don't really think it did anything for me. That's never happened. People tell me, I should have known of this before. More people should know about it. I have a couple where the wife asked her husband to spend their wedding anniversary every year at BioCare Hospital. They come for 10 days for their wedding anniversary. Because she says, I have been living very healthy. I have a man, for example, that comes twice a year. And he says, I do so well, I function so well, I work so well, just by putting myself 10 days twice a year. And I know I'm defeating disease. I was telling you, people whose whole family is diabetic, with no problem. People whose whole family has heart problems, no problem. Because once again, you might have the genes, but you have the possibility of making those genes silent. They will not be able to express themselves. They will not be able to send their evil message. You defeated them. And there are so many things that we're learning as we go, like with the function of with the intestinal flora. Now we know, for example, about esophageal flora. And we're working on the flora of the esophagus. And you know what? Heartburn is gone. Because it's not only that you're producing acid in the stomach, that's normal. The problem is that the acid goes into the esophagus in an abnormal move, motivated by the lack of a healthy esophageal flora. All that can be turned around. You're going to rest, you're going to lose weight, you're going to get rid of inflammation. Most people will get rid of 2-3 pounds in the first 24-48 hours. And it's not because you lost weight, it's because you lost water. We are all inflamed. Now think of the tubes, of the pipes of your house. If you have them under a lot of pressure, you're going to have a lot of problems. They might break. That's what a stroke is. So if you can reduce the pressure, if you can make the blood flow a lot better, you're going to see how you improve. And we have a test where you can actually see yourself, your own red cells, how they flow. And people with faulty diets or inflammatory conditions, red blood cells stick together. They're clumpsy. And these clumps do not flow through the very small capillaries. So blood flow to the smaller capillaries doesn't happen, and people complain of cold hands, cold feet, because blood doesn't get there. Now, you say, well, I can live with that. Yes, but you cannot live with a kidney that's suffering because the blood doesn't really flow. Because urine production is impaired, and if you have an impaired urine production, that means you're retaining even more water. And that water retention means a lot of problems. Because detoxification through the kidney cannot happen. And a higher volume of blood than actually needed means a lot of effort for the heart. And your heart is going to be suffering. I mean, you can take your car, for example, to the garage and they tell you you have to leave it for a couple of days because we're going to clean the cooling system. And all of a sudden you see that your car runs smoothly because the cooling system was not working well. Think about your blood system. Think about your lungs. Think about every single function. Get your program together and say, I'm going to do a 10-day, 2-week getaway, health getaway, anti-inflammatory getaway. I need it, I deserve it, and it's going to do a lot of service. Because I'm going to come back, work better, function better, and begin my predictive BioCare program that's going to be going on and on and on, because I want to be healthy, I want to be working, I want to do what I want to do. You, remember, you are your best asset. Nothing is as good as yourself. Nothing beats you as the big profit making. So think of it, call me. You can call me. We have an 800 number. Let's talk about it and let's plan a BioCare health getaway. Be with you next week.